What is up, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm sharing with you 18 ways to improve your marketing as an artist. I'm going to be honest with you, I don't know if there's actually 18 ways. I made this presentation inside the SYNTHO hub about a year or 18 months ago, so I don't know how many examples I actually give. But in general, this is a great video where I share some thoughts and some philosophy in how to improve your presence in the online space. If you make music and you want to share your work more online, this should give you some good tips. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, comment below what else you want to see and all that jazz. And also don't forget to check out the SYNTHO app if you really want to get good at making music. But anyway, let's get into this video. So guys, welcome to my presentation on sharing your work online. This is kind of a hybrid presentation between how we can market ourselves online, how we can just be more present in general online, and try and inspire you a bit more and be aware of the importance of showcasing your work online. So we will work through the slides. I'm going to be talking a bit more about each quote, each reference, and yeah, kind of rambling on about my feelings towards this topic. It's something I'm quite vocal about, how important it is, and yeah, I think it's very important. So maybe take some notes, watch it twice, you know the drill. So the first quote I've got here is, "For artists, the great problem to solve is how to get oneself noticed," by a man called Honor de Balzac, which is kind of a risky surname. And what he is referring to here, I'm assuming it's a man, is that the hard part isn't even actually creating the product, it's often getting the product noticed. And we've all heard about this 1,000 times, that good music can't get it heard, all this stuff. And I agree to an extent. However, a lot of the time, you probably heard me say this, that in the end, great music always does find its way. And I think that is kind of true. But you can make things easy for yourself if you create the connections and build up a nice solid base. So when the time does come to release music, you've already created this foundational block. People already know your name, things like that. So for me, I was quite lucky in terms of, I wasn't lucky because we all create this situation ourselves, but I made sure that in the years running up to my music being that good, I was connected with a lot of people, which is kind of what we're going to talk about today. And it meant that when the music was good enough, I kind of already had started conversations with DJs, fellow artists, and I'd built a network of people up. And I often refer to this of building a crew and all this. And then when your product is ready to get noticed, you don't have to deal with the whole coming from the ground upwards because you've already kind of got the foundations there. And yeah, in order to be found, you need to be findable. So instantly, are you on Instagram? Are you on Facebook? Have you got a YouTube account? We could even look at TikTok. There is a number of ways that we can be found online. Is your handle findable? So what is your handle on Instagram? If you don't know what handle is, it's just your username. I think it's a fancy word. I don't know why people don't just say username. For example, mine's Josh Baker Music on Instagram. So if you search Josh Baker, it's kind of easy to find me. I'm pretty sure on Google you can find me. But I'm not shit hot on the Google search stuff, so there'll be more information on that online. But in a nutshell, can someone search your name and find your music, your artistry, your whatever? If you don't have a name, we should now start to consider, no matter what level you are, what is your artist name? You can always change it down the line. A lot of people do. For example, Local Dub, my good friends, they actually used to be called Seba and Emil, and they released on Ben Rau's label. But interestingly, they changed their alias to Local Dub because Seba and Emil wasn't actually very findable because the way it was spelt. So we need to consider this massively when coming up with our artist name and DJ name. If someone said to you in a club, what's your DJ name, what's your artist name, could you tell them, and then can it be searchable? So what I mean by that, is it spelled how it sounds? So Seba and Emil was spelled S-E-B-A. Then they had the and sign. Then Emil is spelled E-M-I-L-E. So some people thought it was Seba and Emil. So you can imagine that name trying to catch on when you're in a club or whatever. I'm just giving the club as an example. Someone says, what's your DJ name? You tell them, then they go able to search it and they can't find it. So we need to make sure we're findable with a name which is kind of, it helps if it's something that can be told. Josh Baker, you know how to spell that, and this is kind of simple. It's an extreme. It's not a rule that has to be followed, but it just makes yourself more findable, and the more people that find you, the chances are your name is going to spread more. And yeah, if you're not already, you need to try and get on all the socials you can. I know people are against them, but they're here to stay. So if you want to use them to grow, then I would highly recommend it. And we must build sharing onto our routine. So now we've got our Instagram handle, we've got our Facebook page, and now we need to share some content. And some people kind of say that, oh, I need to make a schedule, I need to do this. I'm super against content plans. Working within a team for the festival hide and seek, and you and me, we've sometimes toyed with the idea of content plans, and I've kind of been working on it, but I don't like content plans. I prefer just building sharing into our routine. So that means for me, every few days, every day I'll do stories. It's part of my routine. I like doing it because I've done it that much. I kind of know what to post, and it's part of my routine. This morning I took a picture of my coffee with the door open. It looked like a cool picture. Good vibes, sun shining. It's not going to bring any harm to anyone's day. If anything, they'll look at it and be like, oh, that's a vibe. Let's enjoy today. It's going to be a good day. And yeah, the more you build it into your routine, the less effort becomes. It's the classic James Clear Atomic Habits book. I'd highly recommend reading that if you've not read it already. But yeah, stories, uploads, build them into your routine, and then it requires very little effort to keep up. Obviously, if you're not posting at all right now, then going to posting stories every day can be quite hard work. You can plan your content, but I found that for me, I prefer just to kind of freely post things. However, now I think about it a bit more, if you've never posted before online, you might need to do a bit of a content plan. But I don't know, for me, it's never really worked. I've just preferred to get into a very good routine of constantly posting and just kind of going with the flow, not overthinking captions. And I think quantity is more important than quality with social media, especially in the short term. And then the quality comes kind of the same with music, to be honest. But your posts will get better, they'll get more interesting, you'll figure out what people like, and you'll figure out what they don't like. And it is really the new networking, connecting people online. It used to be go to a nightclub and meet loads of people. Whereas obviously with COVID, there was no nightclubs. And I think online has very much become a place to network. The first bunch of releases, nearly everything today has been, for me, I've met DJs in a club, and then it's kind of then stemmed to a friendship, and then I've released music on their label. Obviously, with COVID, that can't have been a thing because no clubs have been open, therefore I can't have met any DJs. But I would say I've connected with quite a few new DJs online now and spoke to them a lot and felt like there was the potential to see a release on their label without meeting them in real life. I used to kind of have a bit of a private conspiracy / thinking that unless you meet a lot of DJs in real life, they're kind of not going to put you on their label. You have to have that personal touch. And I think COVID's kind of broke that barrier down. So I would highly suggest connecting with people online, not necessarily label owners, just like-minded people. Like-minded people, speak to them, listen to their tunes, etc., develop friendships. The amount of people I've met online is crazy. Me and my friend Harrison Morris, who I met online, he's from Australia, where we called it online dating as like a joke, because it's kind of like you just meet these people, you talk to them, send music. Pretty mad. Just don't be the annoying guy, but add people, follow people, and the chances are someone cool's going to respond to you and send you some music, and you never know where it's going to lead. Alfie Jack, I met him online, who's part of the You and Me crew. You never know what's going to happen. And whatever level you are, people can relate. So what I mean by this, is that if you think your tunes are not that good now, so why would you post a clip now? There is someone who's going to be of a similar level who can relate to that tune and may say, how did you do that? Or that's a really cool tune. Can I send you some of mine similar to that? Or if your tunes are amazing, it's the same. People can relate to where you are at in your journey. So whether you're just releasing your first ever track and you're promoting it, someone else might have not released a track yet and they might see your post and they want to connect with you. I can't stress this enough that what may seem obvious to you or not so obvious to you, as in it's not that good, someone else is going to think, wow, they're going to think, that's interesting. They're going to think, how did you get there? And it's just going to increase engagement in your content. And it's just a way to strike conversations with people. And it's something that I forget sometimes, that even with these videos, as I'm doing this video, I'm thinking like, oh, there's no point putting this in the presentation because people can understand that. But people can always relate to whatever scale of the knowledge spectrum you are talking on. And it's important to just remember that someone's going to be able to relate, and to some people it's going to be completely new. And here is a massive one, which I wish I'd known this. This is something I'm telling my younger self. Enjoy being an amateur. There are no expectations with what you post. So test the waters. And what this means is that when you get to my level, I'm putting these in, what they're called, speech marks, I think that's the word. I believe, maybe I'm incorrect, that there is an expectation on the quality of work, quality of content, quality of tutorial, quality of story that I put out. Because I am now seen as a pro, I don't want to use that word in a arrogant way, but I guess I'm doing this professionally now, teaching, DJing, marketing, maybe. So now I feel there is an expectation on the quality of what I put out. I feel it's people judging what I put out. To be fair, they're probably not massively, but when you're an amateur and you've got a little following, I've got a little following in the grand scheme of things, but you know what I mean. When there's not people following you, you can really just experiment and enjoy being the guy who is the amateur and you're still learning, because no one's there to judge you. No one expects the content to be good. No one expects that track to sound good. You're just putting it out to the world with no risk. And this is actually quite funny what I'm about to say, because it kind of applies to what I'm just said then. Whether you might think you're not an amateur right now, but I bet you are. The chances are you are. And it's funny because I've just said this, and in reality, I'm very much still an amateur, and there probably is no expectations, but I do feel like there is, to a level with the releases I've got coming and the amount of followers. I guess when I've got, say, I grow to 100k followers, I'll look back on this presentation and probably laugh at myself, but you get the gist. That often we can kind of get ahead of ourselves as well. But yeah, enjoy being an amateur because it's such a special time where there's no expectations. You can just make what you want. You've not really can attach yourself to any style, any image, any persona. You can do what you want. And even when I started doing the SYNTHO project, I kind of had to break the mold of what was expected of me, because I think I was kind of going down a serious DJ path where it's almost the too cool for school thing, and videoing and all this stuff wasn't really that much of a thing for the DJing community. And yeah, I enjoyed being an amateur at the start, and I still am an amateur now, and I enjoy chatting shit to the cameras and all that stuff. But yeah, cherish them moments when you're still beginning. And I think it kind of just carries on forever. But yeah. Wrong way. Learning in the open can be very interesting for others to watch. This is another one that when you're quite transparent with what you're doing on your journey, whether it be posting more content and telling your followers, oh, I want to see what you guys want to see today. Sorry. I want to see what you guys want to watch today. I want to see what kind of tunes. Do you like this tune? Do you like that tune? Do you think this record's good? Blah, blah, blah. By being quite transparent on social media, I think it can be very interesting for others to watch in general. From my experience, I think I've got people who have really watched, maybe you guys have seen my tune progression in the last few years, and people are always like, wow, they've got really good, especially some established DJs. I think being quite open and showcasing your tunes is, people can relate to it, and it's interesting. I like to see people make progress in life, and I'm sure you guys guys do too. It's like when you watch the kid playing football down the road. Not that I've seen any kid playing football down the road and recently, but when you watch someone blossom into something great, it's such a nice thing to watch. So I think it's important to be transparent in the beginning. And yeah, here's a massive one as well. You cannot find your voice if you don't use it. So some of you may be watching this like, I've never posted online, I've never spoke to a camera, I've never recorded anything in my studio, I've never done anything. But if you don't start, you're never going to. It sounds obvious, but you've got to start somewhere. And I know all too well, I remember the first video I did for SYNTHO when I spoke to a camera, and it was, you can probably scroll down to one of the first videos, and I was introducing Alex Kidd to do the tutorial of his plugins, and I was very nervous, my hands are jittering, and like I'm twitching, and I'm kind of, you can really see the uneasiness, and I really went balls deep, and if I hadn't done that video, I think how long would I have waited to actually speak on a camera and stand up? I've not actually done many videos speaking to a camera when I think about it, and I want to do more. I want to do more videos like this actually, where it's talking and sharing my knowledge and all that stuff. But anyway, start now. And when I say voice, it doesn't have to be spoken voice. It can just be typing. We can type our thoughts, talk about different things, but it just means in general, start posting, start talking online, and yeah, then you'll grow and you'll probably enjoy it. I don't think anyone's, I know some people say it's a ball ache sharing online, but it comes back to what I said at the start, is build it into your routine and you'll enjoy it. I find it quite fun. I actually enjoy social media posting. I don't enjoy the way it can absorb your brain and kind of zap you sometimes, and that addiction to the likes, but I actually really enjoy stories and answering questions, and that bit I really enjoy. I don't like the fact I'm kind of a sucker to the dopamine hit on the likes, but you all should also remember that there's master marketing, AI brains behind them laptops and phones that are got us trapped. So that's another story for another day. Think process, not product. People want to see behind the scenes. This means that, for me, the most liked posts are never usually the EP that comes out, which is the product, you know? It's usually more of kind of the studio vids I'm doing at the moment that seem to be doing really, really well. For example, if I post a picture of of SYNTHO, of like what the course offers, it probably won't get as much likes as a video showing the process of the video being recorded or whatever. I know it is still a product, a tutorial, but people seem to prefer things more in action than just a picture of the product at the end. And yeah, oversharing can be kind of cool. Picture of your studio, picture of your record collection, but get creative with it. Don't be boring. Don't just do what everyone else is doing as well. I think social media is still very much a new thing, so there's massive scope to do new things and get creative and yeah, not follow the blueprint. Hopefully your brain's ticking now, things you can do yourself. But yeah, I think process when it comes to sharing, not just the product at the end. And documenting what you do as a whole is cool. It doesn't have to be music related. I'm treading carefully here because I don't want this to turn into an influencer, because ultimately you signed up this course to get better at making music. But I thought this could be useful to share with you. But I think documenting what you do more is very interesting for people. My best posts and best stories seem to be when I put a picture of my food up, which I don't know whether that's demotivating or not, but it is what it is. People want to see normal shit. And especially as you start to gather momentum on the music front, people also like to know that you're just a person and do normal shit. Not to say DJs are anything other than normal, because they're completely honest, normal people, but don't put yourself on a pedestal if you start to gain traction, because I don't think it helps you. I think it helps you when you're more normal and post more stuff and it's more interesting, and you're probably going to get more followers that way than being some super strict, boring, only putting pictures of music stuff up on your Instagram. And bear in mind that not everyone's into tunes massively, so they'll appreciate seeing something different. But documenting what you do is something that I wish I'd done for a longer period of time. Imagine I'd documented everything since the first day I started making music. Imagine how interesting that would be to watch now if I had a massive documentary on that. And the journey's only just begun now, so that's what's great about this SYNTHO and YouTube and all this. I'm documenting more of my life. So at some point, I'll be able to go through all this and maybe put together something over a longer time scale. But documenting what you do now, even it doesn't have to be streamed to a camera. It could just be pictures or a blog or diary. I think in the future, you'll be really thankful you did it. Yeah, and share something small every day, I think, is a big one, because it just becomes part of your routine. It could just be a story, picture of your dog, picture of your computer, picture of whatever. It might seem shit to begin with, but over time, you probably figure out, oh yeah, that's getting more replies, that's getting more responses. I enjoyed posting that, I enjoyed this, I enjoyed that. And yeah, it becomes part of your routine. Like I'm doing Ask Me a Question most days now, because I figured it seems to help people out, seems to get the best reach. And it's not it's effortless. I enjoy answering them. So yeah, that's for me. And this is an interesting finding. Sturgeon's law, 90% of everything is crap, included in our own work. The problem is we don't know ourselves what the 10% is. So see how others react. So this means that, say you make 100 tunes, 90 of them are probably shite, 10 of them are good. But the problem is we don't even know ourselves what the 10 good ones are. And this is so relatable. Every time I release an EP, 4 tracks, for example, usually there's one track which I don't think is that good, always seems to do the best. And it's like, it baffles me. And it kind of applies to everything across the board. Even with SYNTHO tutorials, sometimes the ones I'm like, I don't think are as good as the other ones seem to be the ones that people are like, oh, that helped me so much. And it's hard because we're always our own worst critic, but also we can sometimes get the lines blurred of when things are good. So what better way to put things on social media and see what does the best? I mean, if I put 4 tutorials on social media and see which one gets the most likes on Instagram, so the previews, probably going to be quite consistent with which one is the best, because people are going to know better than me sometimes. But it's a very interesting law, Sturgeon's law, and I can relate to it. But it goes across even in your house. 90% of everything you've got in your house is probably crap. You only use 10% of the things in your house. You know, like the clutter and all the shite. And even in my studio, you could probably, maybe not, but you get the point. So talking about actual specific social medias, Instagram is definitely the powerhouse of 2021. There is the problem with the algorithm, which you may or may not be familiar with, but Instagram only shows if you do an upload, Instagram only shows your content to 10% of your followers. I think it's something like that on average. So that means for me, I've got 8,000 followers, give or take, right now. So it shows it to 800 people, which is 10%. If I'm lucky, so it's between 5 and 10, they say. So it means that you're not going to get loads of people watching it. So you need to make it, well, it's not that you need to make it good. You want the frequency to be quite high, because only 10% are going to see it. If you up the frequency, the chances are more people are going to see it. I don't think it's the same 10%. I think it's always going to change slightly. But yeah, that's just to kind of give you a ballpark of when people speak about the algorithm. I'm not shit hot on like the actual numbers, but my point is there that you want to upload frequently, because the reach is not going to be every one of your followers. But yeah, we can do stories, and in stories, I like to do these questions. You've seen them on my Instagram story. I do them every day pretty much. 1, they're helping other people. 2, Instagram seems to like it when you include in the story something that's engaging. So, for example, a poll, or you can do like the yes or no's. You can do the question, it's the A, B, C, or D. Instagram seems to like that. So you could do some fun ones then. It doesn't have to be the Ask Me a Question. You could do a poll, or obviously these need to be kind of interesting, otherwise no one's going to respond. But stories are just an easy way. I feel like because they're only active 24 hours as well, you can delete them easily. There's kind of no pressure for it to be that good. But I think stories are kind of they get more engagement, stories. So when I was talking about the start of this, when I opened the slide, when I said about the 10% things, that was for uploads. Stories for me, well, actually, when I think about it, probably only about 10% as well, but a bit more. Stories tend to get more views for me. But yeah, we all know people sit on their stories all day flicking through. So yeah, I think it's something we should all be doing. And uploads, again, let's get creative. So you could do uploads. When I put stories here, I mean, you could put stories about yourself. So stories about your musical journey, stories about you, stories about anything. Get creative. Pictures of your new records, picture of your studio, photos of you out, photos of you DJing. Then amongst all this, you want to put normal life stuff as well. But I'm going to enable comments for this presentation, and we can maybe share some ideas. But what you want to do is go on other DJs' accounts and see which posts have got the most likes on there. Then just copy their work, steal their work, but put your own twist on it. No one's reinventing the wheel here in terms of, yes, Instagram's new, like I mentioned, but you don't have to reinvent the wheel. We can just look what's working for other people and do it your way. No one's you, so it's never going to be the same. But yeah, get some ideas on other accounts. Go on my social media account and copy what I've done. And then I'm sure it'll spur some ideas on. No one's ever going to go on your Instagram post and go, I've seen the exact same thing on Josh Baker's. When I say copy, I don't mean copy the text. Maybe just go for the picture, like the picture of the studio, the picture of whatever. And following is an important thing on Instagram. The best way to get more followers is post more content. That's what I figured. Posting more content. If you don't post, the chances are you're not going to get a new follower that day. Maybe if you're lucky, someone searches you, but while you're on the way up, someone might like your post, send it to a friend. They might then follow you. Domino effect. And you may have seen Instagram Reels. This seems to be the new place to be. I need to do them. I'd be lying if I said I've made an effort to do them. I've not. I've been very lazy on the Reels front. But I think if you really want to get your engagement up, get doing Reels. I think it's 30 seconds you can do, and you can do really creative shit. I think this is Instagram's version of TikTok. So yeah, it's one of them where I think if you put some time into it and you do it for a long period of time, it could really make your Instagram boom. And I think it's quite an untouched area in the underground dance music scene. So moving on to Facebook, everyone should have an artist page set up, whether you are barely even making tunes yet or you're quite advanced. It just means if you started now, you might accumulate 200 likes in the next year, or you might accumulate 2,000 likes. But the sooner you start it, the likes start trickling in. It's hard with artist page. Facebook's reach is fucking shite. Excuse my language, but it's fucking shite. I think they're driving all traction towards Instagram now. Again, I'm not an expert in the exact numbers and all that for their social media, but from what I gather is they're trying to make everything on Facebook paid, so you've got to pay to get your reach. So yeah, it's kind of a dead end, and like you feel like you're wasting your time, but it's still worth doing because who knows, in 5 years Facebook might be the place to be again. So you want to make sure you keep posting on Facebook. Ideally, everything you post on social media, everything you post on Instagram, also gets posted on Facebook. And then yeah, it's just a compound. It'll just keep rolling and keep rolling and keep rolling, and you just got to do it. I do Slack on Facebook sometimes, but I just post my personal account now, more so than my artist page. But I'll still post my artist page maybe once a week, once every other week. But really, once a day would be better. To share into the groups, if you're not already in the analog group, excuse me, yawning there, share into groups. So you may have heard the analog, Row Minimal. These are groups on Facebook. If you search them, you can request to join them. And they are just big groups full of people who are into tunes. And they tend to like your posts, share your posts, all this stuff. If you're not familiar with these, just drop me a message and I will link you them. But if you search them, you'll see there's loads of groups like this. You can even create your own group, which is something I'm going to speak about at the end, of kind of creating your own movement. But yeah, sharing on your personal profile is a game changer, really. I share my podcast, my personal profile, probably gets more reach than my Instagram sometimes. And yeah, you can add like-minded people. This was a thing of the past, maybe. I don't really accept anyone anymore on my Facebook. So if anyone's added me recently and I'm not accepted, I apologise. But my friend list is nearly full, so I want to keep it free for if one day someone important needs to add me, basically. I've stopped accepting music friends on there. But yeah, add like-minded people. Just add people that look like the DJ. Don't invite them to your artist page straight away because this is a dickhead thing to do. But by adding like-minded people, you're going to have more people at your disposal to share your stuff to, because if you share it on your personal profile and you've got them as a friend, they're going to see it. Facebook used to be the one, though. But now, for one reason or another, it's just dead. SoundCloud. Post DJ mixes. My general rule of thumb here is post one every 3 months, I would say, or one every 2 months. If you're not releasing music and you can DJ, then you're daft not to be posting mixes. People love a podcast. We've all been sat in the kitchen and afters and we can't find what mix to put on. I genuinely think there's not enough good mixes out there. I don't know how good you are at DJing, but there's only one way to get better, and it's practicing. And recording mix is a great way to really be critical of your own DJing and your own mixing, because if you fuck a mix up, you kind of got to take responsibility and either re-record the mix or put a shit mix out, which you're probably not going to do. So posting mixes online is a great way to really get good at DJing and also increase your reach. Everyone loves the mix. We know they do. Especially girls. When girls, not to be sexist here, what I mean is girls I know who aren't massively into the music, but they'll want to go out at the weekend, they want to put a mix on, and they kind of don't know where to look. And if you've got loads of mates it works with guys as well. But I mean, when someone's not so much into tunes, I'm just thinking my girlfriend messages me sometimes like, oh, can you suggest a mix to put on? Because they all like the music, but they're not following the latest trends and all this, and guys are the same. But your non-DJ, non-digging, non-producing friends, they just want to have a new mix to put on when they're having a few drinks on a Saturday night or in the kitchen on a Sunday morning. So yeah, be recording mixes, even if they only go out on your own channel, or connect with other people and see if they've got a mix series, or start your own mix series. And yeah, you can repost cool tracks in your SoundCloud. I've seen a little thing here where people seem to kind of repost other people's tracks and almost build up their own kind of, at YouTube, you'd upload cool tunes on YouTube. People on SoundCloud seem to do a similar thing where they're reposting cool tunes and then people follow them because they can find good music. So yeah, that's a food for thought for you. And you can also upload previews of your own tracks. If your tracks aren't finished yet, or even if they are finished, SoundCloud is a great way to test the water. Again, it's that kind of 90%, 10% rule where you might think they're good and they're actually crap, vice versa. And SoundCloud will be a telling point of that. If you put a banger up on SoundCloud, a banger, and when I say banger, I mean banger, it's going to catch on. People are going to hear it eventually. So yeah, it's a good place to test the waters, and then you can delete it down the line, which is what's really cool about SoundCloud. And digging for new music. You can dig for new music on SoundCloud, which is also fun. And lastly, YouTube. We can do vlogs, which is kind of something I put there, which I'm not going to push you to do, but something for the future. Maybe I think the world may steer in this direction. More video logs. It's something I'm going to be doing, hopefully, when the club's open. Documenting more of my journey as a DJ on the road, which I think could be very interesting for everyone, because it's not really been done before. But yeah, upload videos from clubs. If you go to a cool club night, upload a video to YouTube. You might get a few followers. Then down the line, you might end up having a YouTube with a load of followers. It's like what I said before. If you start now and do it for 5 years, it's going to compound more and you're going to have more followers when you need it. And lastly, podcast, maybe. Start a podcast like I do. I mean, podcasting seems to be on the up. You get a little concept going, and it's the same thing. Someone can always relate to what you're doing. So just to finish with some thoughts, the whole point here is that if we can build an audience, it's going to make things easier. I want to come back to this very first quote. For artists, the great problem is to solve is how to get oneself noticed. It is hard to make good tunes, but it's also hard to get the marketing thing right. And it's never been easier to get your music heard by people, but also it's never been easy for everyone else. It means it's kind of like this, everyone's got the same tools. So it's important to try and differentiate yourself. But one thing people don't do is be consistent with the posting and being focused. So if you're willing to dedicate yourself to it and really post online, then it's going to make things much easier. And in reality, yes, this quote is correct in a way, but it's not that hard to keep posting on social media. And really, it's free gains. It doesn't cost you anything to put a story up every day. It doesn't cost you anything to put an upload every day. So I think people are daft not to be utilizing social media when it's basically the free way to get yourself noticed. And obviously there's paid ads. You've probably all heard of sponsored ads. It's not something I'm a massive whiz in. I just boost my post on Instagram. You may have seen the boost button if you've got yourself set up as a business account. And yeah, you can sponsor things on there. One thing I forgot to mention is your Instagram needs to be on public. People that have got private Instagrams, no one's finding you then. In order to be found, you need to be findable. Don't have a private Instagram account. Unless you've got something to hide, I don't see why you'd have a private Insta account. And all this, make a separate account for personal and DJing. I think you want it all in one place. Personally, you're just doubling the workload. But yeah, I reckon I may add to this down the line when I have more insights and more views. This is going to be part of the blog inside the hub. Maybe there'll be a video below soon, eventually, just going more deep into this topic. But I think that's been a good introduction into showing your work online. I hope this has been useful, and let's keep it in mind, the importance of showing our work online, especially as we are learning the more technical stuff. And yeah, peace out, guys.